Hi everyone, welcome at WaveAct. Today with a super exciting guest, Alex Casassovici, the CEO of Azarus, a Web3 layer for streams. And this was really a super exciting episode because when I did my research, I honestly didn't truly understand what this was about. So I was a little bit more critical in the beginning, but then opened up as I finally started to understand the exciting and actually really interesting business model. So to keep it short, it's basically, let's say, a infrastructure that allows you to make ads more interactive, which of course drives user retention. And for me personally, that sounds awesome because I have always my ad blockers, fully activated. I'm all against ads. I hate them personally. But well, if you actually are able to interact with them, it makes fun and you're able to earn something with that. I think that doesn't sound too bad anymore. So, without further ado, let's dive in.
WaveAct, the web-free software company that understands what you want.
Yeah, thanks Alex for being here. It's really a pleasure talking with you. And I'm really looking forward today because I have when I did my research, I have a couple of questions and I would love to dig deep into how your platform actually works. So let me just ensure that I actually understand it the right way, because that, of course, would invalidate a couple of things on my end. So, from my understanding, advertisers can basically pay for some kind of product placements for their digital products on your store, and the revenue you collect is, for example, being distributed along streamers and viewers of that streamer, basically. Or how does it work?
So you can indeed, as an advertiser, put products in our store, but that's not really the core of what Azarus is. So if we take a step back, we started Azarus back in 2018. And when we started, we were really at the start of that big change where Twitch was exploding, live streaming was becoming a thing. And my co-founder and I, looking at the space evolving, we're like, we keep calling this thing a TV, but really it's not a TV. You're not watching content over the air. You're streaming content from the internet. And our thesis was that if this is not a TV and it's essentially a computer connected to the internet streaming content through IP, then why is it still so passive? And this is really what got us into starting Azarus. We believe that streaming is changing the nature of the medium. It's not broadcast monodirectional TV. It's an interactive medium now because it's going through the internet. And interactivity is very limited and scarce in how to see today. But actually, the whole stack of broadcast allows to send interactive content to the screen, interact with it. Just nobody has taken advantage of that yet. So that's how we started Azarus. So what we build on Azarus is actually playable ads. The advertisers, they come to us to create a new type of ad. Instead of doing like a 30-second short video, they create a 30-second game that we distribute through our partners. So today we work a lot with Twitch creators, with different channel. We had 20 million uniques last year. So we have those distribution channels, and the broadcaster, the brands, they come to us. We have them build those games. You've seen the trivia games, but we also had some Flappy Bird type of games, very short, 30 seconds, playable. But what's crazy is that they are playable on TV. So they essentially show up in front of everyone else, everyone who's watching, and just using your remote control, your finger, your mouse, whatever you have to interact with that screen, then you get to play together with everybody else who's watching and earn rewards. So the thing also, as part of our thesis, was that if we're going to ask people to do things and to become active in front of the TV, well, you have to give them a reason to. And that reason is pretty obvious: give them rewards that they can own. Hence, the fact that from day one we were built on blockchain, we're dealing with digital rewards and distributing tokens as points, essentially as a point system, giving you access to a store of rewards. So the core game value to advertisers is that instead of spending money for maybe views, you only spend when someone actually engages with your brand and plays. So you move from a CPM to a CPC type of model on a screen that has for decades been notoriously passive and just selling audience, whatever audience mean, however it converts for you as a brand has always been a challenge. So we make that audience interactive, interact with your brand, click, earn something for you. So that creates actually some goodwill. Thank you, Logitech, for sponsoring this advertisement and giving rewards. So it creates an ecosystem that's a lot more balanced, that values the viewers' time and attention, and that makes essentially everybody play together and have fun. And the inspiration, it's kind of funny, but the inspiration behind Azarus really came from going to basketball games. Like during timeouts on TV, you get boring advertisements and you're basically stuck, while on the floor, you have the sponsors of the game essentially doing t-shirt tosses, and you reckon like for 30 seconds, everybody's on their feet, hand in the air, trying to grab t-shirts. And there's like 20 t-shirts to give away, but everybody's trying to get one because it's fun. And then you create a connection with the brand. You recognize like sponsored by Rakuten or by Pete's Coffee or whoever is sponsoring today the activation. But it's fun, it's engaging, you connect with your brand, you create goodwill, and you get something sometimes in return that you can take home and own. So it's really that experience that encompasses what we're trying to achieve at Azarus, is turning that TV into a digital seat, like in a digital stadium, get everybody who's watching to connect together around the same content and play together for 30 seconds, engage with a brand and have a good time and maybe earn something in the process.
That's super interesting. So I honestly understood it the wrong way, because I thought more of it like, you're a Twitch streamer and you play that game, right? And your viewer, your audience, and yourself earn points and can redeem them or something like that. Right? That was my basic understanding when looking through your website and this kind of the information that I found, right? But that now sounds much more like, it's actually about TVs. For me, it looks more like a comparison, like a metaphor, right? So it's actually when you watch a movie, like not Netflix or even Netflix and these platforms which introduce ads now, you basically are more kind of that rich ad tech provider that they can plug in and allows them as an infrastructure provider basically to...
Correct.
Okay. That's...
No, you nailed it. And the reason it's not so easy to grasp on a website is that nobody comes to a website unless you've already earned rewards and you come there to redeem them. So hence the emphasis on the store and hence the way you perceive what we're doing. But like nobody comes to Azarus first. You essentially watch whatever content you're already watching, whether it's a Twitch creator, whether it's a movie on one of our partner channels, and at some point, something shows up. A wallet loads, a game loads, everybody starts playing, and hey, you got some tokens and they're in your wallet. And now you have to like, okay, what can I do with these tokens? And that's where you come to Azarus, you see the store, and you start understanding how those things fit together. But it's kind of counterintuitive because like nobody ever starts Azarus on Azarus.io on the website. That's not where we start. And that the same thing that's also counterintuitive is like the measure of success. So, like you would think like we'd make games, so we're looking at retention, but like retention is not the problem for us. For us, It's about what's the percentage of the audience on a channel that is exposed to the playable ad that actually plays. Because you can't play whenever you want. You have to essentially be there when the game starts. And you don't know when it's gonna start, but like, so the expectation that you're already watching, you're already there. And since there's 4 billion people watching streams, that happens pretty often. Like the size of the opportunity in the market is huge. Essentially, you're doing what you already do, watching the Super Bowl, watching an NBA game, watching your favorite creator on Twitch, and all of a sudden that thing starts and gets you playing. And so what we measure is like engagement rate, and we have channels with 100% engagement rate, if you believe it. It's kind of crazy. We have like channels where everybody who's watching ends up playing the game for 30 seconds. And this is really showing, it's a testament that it's super simple. We streamline the process so much. It's enticing. People realize that other viewers are playing as well. It's really the same thing as in a basketball game. People are on their feet, hands in the air, and you're seeing your neighbors on their feet, hands in the air. You do it too, because you may win. So let's do it.
But that's super exciting. So you basically are watching out for platform partners all the time, right? I guess you have Twitch already. Tell me, what other platforms are you providing your ads already on?
So our biggest source of audience today is Twitch by far, but we have been working, and those are long BD deals, so they take a certain amount of time to happen, with some of the really big streaming TV fast channel platforms. So those are huge deals with, like, we're looking at hundreds of millions of viewers out there. Just takes a lot of time to happen, but those are super exciting. They're on the pipeline, and when that happens, we essentially onboard millions of people, hundreds of millions of people to Web3, which is kind of exciting.
Definitely is. Especially, everything that's about infrastructure, or basically just one layer below, right? One layer below actually just building a platform yourself has, incredibly huge potential, because you are actively changing how people can engage with ads in that case, right? And ads are usually something people are experiencing as extremely unpleasant, right? We have ad blockers and all these kind of things. So making that somewhat, let's say, a win-win situation for both sides, that's something really exciting. And one question, just from a visionary perspective, you mentioned TV a couple of times. How far are we away from, let's say, a TV landscape where you can actually engage with your TV ads? Of course, you might need some kind of... Can you do it with your remote control? I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, way closer than you think. The technology is already in your TV. If you take any app that you use to watch content, whether it's YouTube TV, Pluto, Fubo, Zumo, you name it, they all use the same standards. The video players already are compatible. We use industry standards to inject the wallet over the video and load our games. Basically, the client side is already ready, and on the back end, on the encoding side, the adding session servers are already ready also to support our infrastructure. So it's already there. It's just about making this connection happen, educating the space, and essentially expanding our reach through the businesses that we've been working on for some time now. So it's kind of fascinating, because the broadcast industry actually has been trying to sell you pizza on TV for the past 25 years. I actually met someone here in San Francisco who used to work at Comcast in the late 90s, and he was the first to implement the ability to sell pizza on TV, and they were using the modem line through the cable box to pass the order. course, that would never success. You don't want to buy pizza on TV, like that's very unlikely. But it's kind of interesting to see how forever, and we have actually stories like there's Wheel of Fortune in the late 80s. Mattel had a device that would let you play at the same time as the live TV show and win prizes. You would call of a landline and input some of the codes, and you would be able to get some reward money for playing along. So interactive TV is an idea that stems back 40 years now, if you can believe it, 40 plus years. So it's not a new idea. And there's a lot of infrastructure that is already in place for that. The biggest thing that I found is that broadcasters have always looked at interactive TV as a way to sell things and make TV shoppable, which is not exactly the most obvious use case. You know, you're watching an ad, you're not going to buy this now. You're watching a show, you're not going to buy that snail that you have standing on your left side. Maybe it's super cute. Am I going to buy it now? Maybe not. I'll look it later. So the act of buying requires such specific circumstances that it's unlikely it happens, even if you make it extremely simple. So, and when we're looking at it, we realize like, you know, this is cool and all, but really what we want is to get people to engage and to feel that you're not alone, passive behind your screen, but you're part of a giant crowd of millions of people watching the same content at the same time and getting excited. And we want to create that connection, and we want to have a medium, a spark stemming from brands sponsoring and encouraging that connection to happen. And when we started and we tried that for the very first time with Ubisoft in 2018, that was an overnight success. It clicked immediately, proving that, yes, if you set the stage right, put the right incentive, make it simple enough that you don't have to install anything, there's no second screen, no installation, just pops up on your screen, then you have immediate engagement of the audience.
I love the mission. If I could ask you for one single favor, it would be that you hit subscribe onto this channel, because it helps our channel more than you can imagine. And, you know, the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests get. So thank you very much for watching, and let's continue with the episode. I love it. Yeah, basically, as always, don't make me think, right? The easier something is, and the more the user gets out of something, and the more entertaining it is, the more, you know, as you said, monetary rewards, these kind of things all contribute to, as you said, more engagement rates. And I'm just curious, and I know it's impossible to give a proper, let's say, assumption here, but you said you have right now something like a 100% engagement rate. Do you think this is because it's actually, from a user point of view, something new, and that's mainly the reason they're engaging with this? Or is it more because it's actually, you know, because it's interactive? I know that's difficult to answer, but what are your insights into that?
So we have about 45% average engagement rate. So 100% clearly a bunch of outliers. But what we found is that the engagement rate increases over time. So people, after missing the first wave, next time that they see, they recognize the wallet loading and the game starting, then they immediately start to play. So that increases over time. And we have found that folks tend to increase their engagement, the play rate, and that's a different, we have a different metric, which is the play rate. So a given user that we know seeing a game showing up, how often does he play? That play rate tends to increase over time. Now, the reality of the medium, and that's also something that people need to realize, is that if you're watching, in many cases and very often, people are just listening in. That's very true on Twitch. You may not be watching, so we do have some audio cues to try and draw your attention back to the screen. So yeah, the game is starting. But if you're not paying attention, not listening it, you're going to miss it. And so this is clearly one of the things that we've learned to measure and to understand is that some channels have very different behavior than others. We have some channel where we know that the community is actually watching, engaging, paying attention. You can see it on the chat, you can see it in many aspects, and while others clearly have huge numbers, but a lot of those are just people just listening in like radio. And so that population becomes harder to draw back to the screen. But on the upside, it's a super big testament to what we're doing, because if you're an advertiser, you don't want to be paying for an ad that people are not seeing.
Sure.
So this is really where we come in. We are doing our best to drive people back into on the screen. We also have really cool case studies, and you can find them on the website, that show how we get people to stay longer. Because when you see that the game is running on a channel, you essentially wait for the next one, and that gets people to stay a lot longer on channels. And people just get more active in general. Once we grab their attention, they realize that thing happening, they end up paying more attention. So this is super positive, and it's not just creating value for the advertiser because we're creating a good connection, but also for the broadcaster, the channel, because then we have the audience staying longer, paying more attention, being more active, and increasing essentially the audience of that channel. So this is literally having a ripple effect by giving you one more reason to pay more attention to this window specifically, and maybe stop for a second swiping on TikTok or doing something else, and just watch and pay attention, because you are able to play with your peers and win stuff, and it's happening now. So
attention spans are gone, so love that.
Going down for sure. Let's say I'm not sure it's going down, but multitasking is definitely something that everybody has to take into account now. When was the last time you watched a movie without taking your phone out and swiping at some point?
Fair enough. Well,
I'm super guilty, so I'm not going to judge.
Not going to answer that. So, well, one thing I still don't 100% understand is people earn points through interacting with those rich ads, basically. But those are custodial wallets. For sure, makes sense, right? But how do you track who owns that wallet, basically? Because ads themselves are not directly, I guess, bound to an user account, because you can watch streams without registering for a Twitch account as well, from my knowledge, right? So how does that work?
So that's kind of the beauty of having a custodial account, is that we let the user create a wallet with just an email. So type in your email address, we send you a one-time password, tap that password, your account is created. And then we know who you are, and we're able to not have you do that. The other thing that we do that's pretty cool is that we only ask you to create your account after you've played. So you can start playing immediately. In the backend, there's essentially a temporary account, and that account can keep using it as long as we can track you, and then you take ownership of it by just typing in your email address, scanning a QR code if you want to. So there's a few things that make it super easy to onboard, and making sure that it's all about first experiencing the product, playing along, winning stuff, and then onboarding you and making sure that we are able to give you ownership of your account and your rewards. And then there's a whole process. Like later, you can go KYC, you can access your private key, you can do all these things, and you can basically take full ownership of the wallet and its content. Going KYC also gives you access to more rewards. So we have some rewards that are like gift cards, Visa cards, Amazon cards, Spotify cards, whatever. Those are rewards that we require KYC for some legal reasons. And so we essentially have like 35,000 digital items, and most of our users end up really taking the rewards from the store and staying into our ecosystem because it's super simple and convenient. But we're looking at creating more and more usage and utility around the core and the ecosystem in general, so that people can do more with the rewards that they get.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that basically, thank you for answering that, because that now makes much more sense, because I thought there's no setup involved, because what, you basically see the ad, you play it, and then you continue. But typing in the email address, or if you use a third party provider like Web3 or Magic and these kind of things, absolutely makes sense, and that's great. I'm just wondering, because why exactly is it based on Web3? You know, we are Web3 software agencies, so no offense, I love that stuff, I love blockchain, but I like to be a little bit critical. Why can't it be a centralized solution?
Well, first, I think there's many cases when you can do things centrally and decentralized, or in a decentralized way, kind of like one or the other. But there's a few things that are important for us. One thing is true ownership. We want our users to actually own what they like, the rewards that they get for the time they spend. So for us, true ownership has always been kind of a cornerstone. If we're going to give you a reward, we want you to own that reward and to be able to materialize it in your wallet. I think true ownership, I mean, I've always been frustrated by those rewards platform like airline miles and so on that was very like non-transparent. You get points, you don't really know what they're worth. It's unclear how you can use them. Sometimes they don't it always felt that closed ecosystem were creating unnecessary friction and essentially harming trust that the user put on these platforms. I feel like I have plenty miles in plenty places, but most of the time I can't use them and I get cash for them because it's so much easier. So the other thing is that we see Web3 games and Web3 in general as being obviously the next iteration of the internet. So when we start working with an advertiser that is Web3 native or trying Web3 thing, we want them to be able to distribute rewards that could be their own coins, their own NFTs, their own items, or their own things. And we want that to be totally interoperable and essentially composable between both ecosystems. And so that's for us, like thinking ahead a couple of years, whether it's Adidas, Iconex, Animoca Brands, Mocaverse, Apes, all those things, all this ecosystem of digital items will be compatible and are already actually compatible with what we do at Azarus. Just bridge the items, set them as a rewards pool for a game, and anyone who's playing that game can earn some of the items that you've put in the pool, and that's just baked into the contract, and it's fully transparent and permission and distributed. The other thing that we've baked into a thesis is that as the streaming ecosystem evolves, if we want to be able to reach 4 billion viewers, we cannot create a walled garden. And everything that we're building and the long-term vision at Azarus has always been that we are going to be opening up components and making it accessible for game developers who want to build on stream, for channels who want to add interactivity to their channels. And essentially, the entire ecosystem will open up over time. So it becomes an open source, permissionless, distributed network for playable content over streams, and not just a closed source ecosystem and walled garden ecosystem. So all those things, and we started really, when we started in 2018, we had that vision, like we always prioritized proving out that there's a market for it, getting users on board, and kind of like first getting to market and proving our hypothesis before building the entire longer term food distributed permissionless vision, because this is more expensive.
Of course.
A lot of projects have done the other side, the opposite. And I don't think there's a good or wrong here, but like we always come, I'm more of a product person, and the team is more like product and UI, UX, and user oriented. So we like to first understand what's needed and how people react, what is exactly the type of experiences that we're building before making it more generic and opening it up and letting people start being creative based on the first experiments that we are running.
Yeah, well, it's just a personal preference. So I really like that use case first approach, right? Test it on the market. Blockchain is a tool, right? In the end, if you use it, to what extent you use it, it always depends on who your target group is, what you're trying to build or solve, right? You guys have,
if I may, I think it's more than a tool. It's also a state of mind. You can either be the Apple of this world and try to build everything, get the maximum extractable value from your customers and basically own the space and build walls, or you can see yourself as being an enabler of a space. And I don't believe you can do it alone. I think we need everyone who can help, whether because you have audience or you have creativity you want to build, or you have like new business models and new ideas. We need all this so that next time you watch a Super Bowl, you experience it interactive.
Huge fan of that asset. I am blockchain too. Just to understand the vision a little better, you have a store right now, of course, that's centralized to a large extent.
Yes.
And the tokens itself are probably not redeemable for some other currency at this moment, of course, because it would be a security, obviously, right?
No, so that's not exactly how it works. And the token is actually on chain. It's an ERC20.
Mm-hmm. But
it's not a security because we never sold it.
Exactly, because it's a utility token, right? But you can't directly exchange it for money itself. That's what I meant. So there's no tradable aspect to it. But just from the top of my head, this plus a decentralized store, which would mean anyone could sell anything on there, that would mean that you're becoming somewhat or actually decentralized, right? Is that the vision or the goal, the direction you want to go for? Or
I think it goes further than that. So as Azarus as a company, we really focus on the ad business. So the rest of the team comes from Amazon ads. We have like really good expertise when it comes to gaming and ads. But I believe that the infrastructure we're building can go way further and beyond just ads. You could see, I don't know, I can imagine, and I'm just throwing names. These are full disclaimer, not necessarily any of those that we have contacts or contracts with, but like, I would like one day to see, like, DraftKings build a betting app right there on the screen on a platform. They can make their own token, they can build their own app, and if they have a deal with whoever is broadcasting the Super Bowl on whatever channel, then you can bet on whether there will be a touchdown in the next 2 minutes. That could happen. And basically, the infrastructure lets you build any interactive experience and layer it on top of a stream. That's the technology that we built. And as the ecosystem matures and as we grow, we really want anyone to be able to create new type of experiences and kind of define what the future of that screen that we call a TV is going to be. It's going to be interactive. Now, is it going to be an app store? Is it going to be controlled by the channels who decide what's going to run? I don't know. But what's for sure is that we can contribute by providing a standard to build interactive component. We can have people building experiences that would work across all the channels that are connected to our infrastructure. And we can create an ecosystem that's so much bigger if we make it distributed, permissionless, and remove all the walls.
Oh, Ernesto, what do you have here? As you know, Ernesto is our chief meme officer at our company Wayfact. And yeah, we just launched a web-free card game for kids, 2 to 5 players plus 10 years old. And it's all about web3, the risks, the opportunities, the challenges. And basically, you play this card game and have to collect Ernesto. Like how he's eating french fries, popcorn, sitting in a bucket, these kind of things. So it's really just a super playful way of engaging with the space and actually understanding how it works. So I would really appreciate if you check it out. Of course, we earn some money with that, but every cent, every dollar goes directly towards the free Web3 workshops we do for children. We just had one in Bangkok in November. So I hope you like it, and if you have some feedback, please leave it below. Love that. Just let's go more into the business side for a second, like or personal point of view. What was the biggest challenge you have faced over those years when building your company? Like, has there been some kind of moment where you thought, "Oh man, I'm not sure if this is going to work out"? Like, what was that moment for you?
So, there's been a few of those moments because we started in 2018, so it's been a while. But I think the most interesting is that when we ran our first test with Ubisoft back in 2018, it was a super overnight success. And then every time we changed something, thinking that we were making the product better, we actually were making it worse. So, it's kind of interesting because kind of by chance, or I don't know, but a lot of the things that we did the first time we got right, it took us a while to understand why was it right. And it's really like every time that we broke, that helped us understand a little bit better this what's so different with an audience watching TV, how they react, what works, what doesn't. And we did so many experiments that we learned by essentially breaking things that were working, which was kind of like very counterintuitive. Like I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years. It really goes the other way around. Like you increment and you get better. But like we started with something that was actually really working well with a community that was loving it. And every time we're changing something, we're just making it worse. And we're like, I don't get it. And then you start understanding better this audience and that dynamic. And having done mobile gaming, traditional web, audiences watching stream is so different than anything you know. You think you can treat them as mobile gamers, it's not the same. They just don't have the same, they won't react the same at all. Any mental model that you have turned out to be wrong. The ecosystem also so different. Creators on stream so different than your usual KOLs or like it's really something on its own. And it took us a while to really understand why what we did first was so actually on point to this audience. That was like, we had a lot of this moment where like, I don't get it. This is just worse. Let's roll back. And that happened over and over again. One of the best examples, at some point we added some meta quests, like some live ops and a second layer to the game that will let people compound over multiple games and making the game sessions longer and during a stream. And we realized that viewers would just come in a stream, watch 5, 10, 20 minutes, and then leave. And so you have that constant rotation. Sometimes you grab some of them and let them stay longer, and that's a win. But on average, they rotate. They go from one stream to another. They're literally like just zapping on TV. And this just changes the way you have to approach that audience. And you have like to measure success and to see what success is getting that guy a little longer. Success, but if you get from 10 to 20 minutes, that's 2x in just 20 minutes. You're not going to have like an MMO during 20 minutes. It has to stay small and casual. So all those things, lots of learning. I feel like we became we now expert on understanding audiences, how they consume streams, what the expectation, when are they paying attention, what will grab or not grab their attention. But that took a lot of trial and error, and mostly errors, because that's probably where when you learn the most about your assumption, how wrong they are, and you rebuild your own mental model to figure out what is that audience that you're actually targeting and engaging with on this medium.
Well, I think it's the same with social media, right? Or with almost with every platform out there. The user on TikTok is not the same as on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and I think that's a perfect example for even a more niche market, that even there are super strong differences between platforms and so on and so forth.
I wouldn't say niche. Again, 4 billion people are watching stream. That's a lot. But the
Of
thing,
course,
I think, to your point, is like you take the same person, put him or her on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok, on Twitch, on Paramount Plus, on Pluto. They're going to consume the content in a very different way. And clearly the way that you interact with the medium is very dependent on the medium itself. And that's kind of like one of the big learning. You think you know the consumer, but really you don't. It's really like consumer on that medium, that's its own thing.
Absolutely. Just thinking about all of that, I would even say that that's a great ending question here, except you have something to add. Are there 3 things that you say, that's something from my entrepreneurial journey now that I think would really help you and that you want people to remember?
From my entrepreneurial journey, wow, that's a big question.
I know.
I think so. There's a few things that I think I learned over time, and I wish I had known, or that I had done better probably in the early days. The first thing I learned is that you have to always start from the market. It's not about the product; it's about the market. If you don't know how to access an audience, then you should not start building a product. And it's okay to build like kind of a prototype or something really short to just test the waters. But like the most important thing in any company, any startup, is what is the market you think you want to address, and how can you prove that you know to address it at scale? Probably one of the hardest things to do, and it's harder today than it was yesterday, just because of the amount of stimuli that we get from all over the place, from email to us, whatever. Getting people's attention is getting harder and harder. The second thing I learned, and I think is super helpful, is the first product you build should not be your product. And let me explain. So in many cases, people start building their vision. And that vision is really super expensive to build, because like you have that grand vision, you see the future and you want to build the future. The problem is not building the future, it's like how do you get to the future? And the first step is always about creating signal. How do you prove that this audience that you think you can reach actually has any interest for that idea that you have? And proving interest doesn't necessarily mean building the product. It means proving interest. And those are really 2 different things that people often confuse. And that thing, it's much harder than you would think, because you have to kind of like really forget about that future and that product that you want to build. But like, what's the hypothesis that you're working on, and how do you bring essentially water to your windmill, and how do you prove that there is actually something and there is interest on getting to the future for that audience that you're targeting. So those are always the 2 things. And again, I'm a product guy, so I always assume that you can build things, the technology is going to follow, that you can build. But it's not about building. It's about making sure that you build something that's meaningful, not going to be able to impact folks. And the last but not least is that you always want to try and build at the intersection of multiple changes. And let me explain. So, for instance, with Azarus, we're looking at the evolution of streaming, gaming, and digital ownership. And we're basically at the central space of those three evolution in our environment, in our realm. And I feel like it's always at the intersection of evolving spaces that you have the biggest opportunity. If you can look at those signals, see where things are going, and try to kind of formulate, hey, so where does that get us? That's where you find the most interesting ideas and opportunities, and you're able actually to get people excited from these spaces. So that's like, I guess that's true. And I'll stop there because I could go on and on that topic. But
feel free to if you want to.
I'll drop a last one. And that's one thing that we keep telling people, and I wish people kind of like start realizing is that streams, they're not TV. Everybody watches streams on TV, but the stream is not TV. TV is essentially over-the-air content one way, but the stream is interactive and bi-directional. So that's something people need to realize next time that you're going for a social gathering and talk with people. This is not a TV; it's a streaming box. It's a different thing, and it's going to evolve into its own. It's going to reveal really its power as the apps, as the ecosystem realize that it's that play pause button that you're now seeing. It's the start of a game.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Love that metaphor, by the way. Yeah. Hey, thanks, Alex, for your time. It's was really awesome talking with you. And yeah, I hope you found as much pleasure as I did. So, yeah.
That's great. Thanks for having me, Kevin. Appreciate it.
I hope you liked the episode. Ernesto is happy too. So I guess we did a fine job here today. And yeah, if you have some feedback for us, please leave it in the comments. Let us know what you liked, what you maybe didn't like. We always strive to improve our podcast. And yeah, thank you very much for watching and stay tuned.
WaveAct, the web-free software company that understands what you want.